In the Cyberpunk 2077 lore discussion, we shall cover arguably the most influential family prior to the events of Cyberpunk 2077, the Arasaka family. Born in 1919 to an enterprising industrialist, Saburo Arasaka served in the Imperial Air Force during World War II until his crippling injury in 1942 dropped him out of the war. In 1960, he stepped into his father's shoes as head of the Arasaka Corporation. Realizing that information equals power, Saburo formed the Arasaka Security Division, whose services came into demand as the world plunged into total anarchy. 40 years of study and careful theorization had allowed Saburo to predict the crash and the collapse long before they happened. So Arasaka weathered the storm. At the time of 2020, Saburo was one of the wealthiest men in the world and 101 years old. He had a great deal of body reconstruction and his destroyed arm and eye were replaced by cyberware. Nonetheless, he was confined to a wheelchair and rarely left the impregnable family compound outside of Tokyo. Despite his physical limitations, his mind remained sharp. Although his son Kei was now the nominal head of the Arasaka Corporation, all major decisions and policies were still subject to Saburo's discretion. Saburo groomed his son Kei for the eventual complete control and the realization of his private goals, but during the time of Cyberpunk 2020, he remained undeniably in charge. Heir apparent to the Arasaka Empire, Kei is Saburo's eldest son and most trusted confidant. His expertise in matters of business, finance, and investment is second only to his father's. Although Saburo still makes the most critical decisions, Kei, at age 40, was already official CEO of the corporation and has many years of executive experience under his belt. Kei is fully aware of his father's methods and the scope of the corporation's power. He shares in Saburo's nationalistic dreams and has every intention of following them through after his beloved father dies. Many consider Kei more dangerous than Saburo because he's not driven by hate. While Saburo's emotions would often get the better of him, Kei is cold and calculating. He thought nothing of employing violence and torture to close a deal or solve a problem. Whereas Saburo's spirits rise and fall with the fortunes of his brainchild, Kei maintains a detachment he considers imperative to objective decision making. The only time Kei demonstrates any emotion is around his family and most trusted friends. Kei was devoted to his father and younger half-sister and always did his best to ensure their happiness and comfort. While Saburo is a virtual prisoner of the compound, Kei traveled the world and near orbit ceaselessly, arranging meetings, consolidating business, and making contacts. He would be instrumental in leading Arasaka's forces during the Fourth Corporate War. Following the fall of the Arasaka Towers, Kei attempted to escape from Night City. The Sea Viper's engines are off. Very strange, he thinks. I gave no orders to stop. Have they arrived at the submarine rendezvous so soon? Takashi! Niroko! No answer. He slides his hand into the secret panel in the bulkhead above and withdraws his pistol and wakizashi. As he opens the door, Kei notices his guards slumped in the alcove. He checks their pulses. Alive, but unconscious. No sign of a struggle. A smell of ozone. Taser or EMP pulse, he thought to himself. Kei made his way through the skip, checking for someone, anyone, or some cause for the intrusion. Even Taisao Ogawa is down, covered in some form of plascrete, his electronic systems garbled. Everyone else is missing or slumped over at their station. There isn't even a sign of a fight. He comes to the forecastle, stops. There are lights in the special room used for the tea ceremony. He draws his pistol from his sash. The doors slide open. Inside, the soft lights cast an amber flow over a low table, on which are set a massive handgun, some kind of computer gear, and a dozen caseless rounds. On the far side is a young, pretty woman kneeling down, dressed in a kimono. Her face seems unaccustomed to the grim look on it. He flips through his memories and makes an association. His pistol comes up. Spider Murphy, an unexpected pleasure. You are, however, uninvited. I invited myself. Your guards didn't seem to mind. I do. And I believe I have the power to enforce my will. He waved his gun. You need bullets to use that, if I remember correctly. But I could be wrong. After all, I'm just a data thief. Her lips form a smirk. Kay shocked stares in disbelief at the rounds on the table. Dumbfounded, he pops the magazine of his handgun to find it empty. He draws his wakizashi. Spider is nonplussed. Mine, of course, is loaded. Your people are fine. Some will need medical attention. It's amazing what you can do with less than lethal technology these days, and a few talented friends. Kay sees two figures step out from behind a painted screen. An Alpha Borg he does not recognize. The other a woman whose demeanor says solo. While they do not brandish their weapons, their presence ends his plan to rush the girl. So, now what? Now, Spider says as she picks a bottle from beside her, you are going to share some sake with me, and then I'm going to plug you into this little box. When I do, a soul killer system will wipe your mind and place it in a prison Rashbot must set up a long time ago. It was intended for your father, but I don't think Rash would disapprove of your occupancy. I see. And if I choose not to? You have no choice. You've lost everything your father built. Your nation has turned its back on you. You have dishonored yourself and your family. It has all turned to ash, Kay. You must make amends. Spider pours the sake with a steady hand. She passes a cup over to Kay, who takes it with a steady hand. He nods to the computer link and the cable that is coiled next to it. You would have me execute myself? I could force you, but I have no wish to. It is inevitable. It is the only honorable thing for you to do. Think of it as seppuku. You are samurai, are you not? Her words are honed blades slicing away the shield he had built in his mind. His attempt to deny his failure, the utter totality of his clan's collapse, his part in all of it as first son. As ruthless as he is still samurai. You are not my first choice of a kaishakunin, he says. Spider nods. He nods back and solemnly jacks in. As the soul killer rushes upon him, he speaks through the interface. The ocean waves swell. Stare into death's eyes, laughing. The seagulls cry above. One might assume this means Kay will not be around during Cyberpunk 2077. Two possibilities are worth considering. It is currently unknown what happened to Kay's engram. He is trapped in a prison rather like Alt Cunningham, so technically he is still alive. The second and less likely option to consider was that under Kay's instruction, Arasaka were performing research into various technologies, including human cloning. Conceived when he was 80, 21-year-old Hanako Arasaka is Saburo's youngest child and the apple of his eye. Hanako was born to Saburo's third and last wife, Michiko, who died shortly thereafter due to complications caused by birth. Saburo was charmed by his little daughter's stunning beauty, and he decided to raise her in the sheltered confines of a compound to protect her from the scarring traumas of life in the exterior world. Hanako received her schooling at the compound through trusted tutors. Cut off from the outside world, she learned how to travel and explore the net instead. Saburo made sure that Hanako was never made aware of the darker side of the corporation, but through her net explorations, Hanako was just beginning to suspect the horrible truth. Hanako is a sweet, intelligent woman. She's been chafing under her father's well-meaning restraint for several years, but she has not voiced her complaints. She knows that her father wants to arrange her marriage in order to solidify a corporate alliance, but she secretly dreads the day it happens. Hanako did not want to hurt her father, but she has sworn to live an independent life after she dies. Shortly after 21-year-old Yorinobu Arasaka graduated from Todai, his father Saburo Arasaka brought him to his private chambers at Arasaka HQ. There he explained to his youngest son the true nature of the Arasaka Corporation. Rather than agreeing with his father's vision, Yorinobu was secretly appalled. That night, Yorinobu slipped out of the compound and vanished into the Tokyo night. 4 years later, Yorinobu, considered to be a non-musical rocker boy, had gathered a cadre of tough Tokyo nomads, the Kotetsu no Ryu, aka the Steel Dragons. Together they swore to expose and destroy Arasaka. His knowledge of Arasaka facilities and corporate procedures gave the Kotetsu no Ryu some advantages, but they lacked the power or information to make serious headway against the corporation. Yorinobu is, however, able to tread the world of the street and the corporate tower with equal facility. When he's not riding with his men, he is traveling the world, meeting with other enemies of Arasaka, looking for funds and equipment. Then the Fourth Corporate War happened. Aside from providing the Japanese government details on Arasaka's operations, information on Yorinobu's exploits during the war remained elusive until Johnny Silverhand and his team, while attempting to find the storage room for the Soul Killer program in Alt Cunningham, stumbled upon a data file titled Arasaka Yorinobu 24/9/2022. K. Arasaka had used the Soul Killer on his youngest brother. Next to the Soul Killer database, Silverhand's team would find what appeared to be a cloning facility. What were the Arasaka scientists up to? Amongst the tissue samples, one was labeled Alt 1702-2013 and Yorinobu Arasaka 2309-2022. Remember that while not perfected in 2020, the ability to fully clone a human was viable at this time. Also, the Arasaka Tower riots, where Silverhand had originally attempted to rescue Alt, happened on April 13th, 2013, meaning Arasaka had somehow acquired Alt's DNA years earlier. It was revealed in Cyberpunk Red that Arasaka broke into 3 warring factions: the Bakufu faction headed by Hanako Arasaka, the Princess faction headed by Michiko Arasaka, Kei's youngest daughter, who as a US citizen allies with the new US government, and the rebel faction headed by Kei's rebel son, Yorinobu. One can therefore speculate that the Yorinobu who is currently fighting the other Arasaka factions is either a cloned imposter, or there is a method of reversing the Soul Killer process to integrate an engram into a cloned body. This raises many interesting questions about the 2077 narrative. Is it the real Yorinobu Arasaka? If the answer is yes, who restored his engram to a living body? What about the other victims of Soul Killer? If Yorinobu received a new cloned body, what about the tissue samples for Alt Cunningham and potentially Johnny Silverhand? Who has those tissue samples? Given that it was a Militech operation, are Militech secretly trying to take over the Arasaka Corporation through this new Yorinobu? What about the true purpose behind the Arasaka Research Facility? So many questions remain unanswered. Thank you for chipping in.